So you may have just got one of these two, whether a go-kart or a mini bike for Christmas, or I say that because it's Christmas time right now, or you just maybe, you know, new to this whole thing in general, where you picked one up, you don't know really how to take care of it. This video will hopefully give you some tips on how to get the entire lifespan out of your little cheap Chinese motor that these come with, or you picked up from Harbor Freight, which is the case with that. To be honest, I'm not sure how long these motors last. I'm imagining with how cheap they are, they're super loose tolerances and stuff. That is why it's just super important to stay up to date on your maintenance. And that is actually something that I personally, me recording, have not been that great on. Number one, this video is to teach you guys who may be new to this how to do it. And it's also to get me to do maintenance on my own stuff, which is what I really need to do. The great thing about these little yard toys or whatever, I'm not going to call it a toy. This is a hobby. But let's be honest, it's a toy. They all come with just a super similar motor. So whether you have a Predator 212 or that one over there is a 196cc, these two motors are both a clone of a Honda motor. So they're pretty much the same. I'm just assuming one has a bigger bore than the other. If you don't know, that means just it's how big the piston is and the hole in the block is for the piston. Or your bike came with something similar like this, or go-kart, like a 97cc. All this is pretty much going to be the same topic. It's pretty much all going to be the same idea of how to take care of it. So let's just go over some super routine stuff. Starting out, this right here is your air cleaner. How to check that, there's a little tab right here that you pull out on. You just pop out. My frame's in the way. Well, actually, that came off easier than I thought. This, if you're going through mud and stuff, like right now it's super rainy, that just means it's super fun to drive this stuff on. Keep an eye on this. You don't want your motor sucking in any water or anything. And then every once in a while, you can either replace this, or what I do is I just blow it out with an air compressor over there. But I can't imagine this is super expensive to replace. It's just a piece of foam. All right, next is, we're not going to change the oil on this because I actually kind of did recently. I'm going to change the oil on that one though. Down here, here's how you check your oil. You want it to be, I usually try to fill it up to the threads. So there, it's to the top of the threads. I've heard people do the bottom of the threads. Really what you want to do is get it to where the flinger or whatever on the piston, there is a, I'll put a picture up right here. There's a thing at the bottom of the piston that just flings the oil everywhere. All you want to do is just fill it up to where, you know, that's coming in contact with the oil and flinging it. Now this right here, that is your drain plug. There's two of these, or one of these on each side, so there's two per motor. This is super easy. There's that intake I was talking about. It's a nice little upgrade. When you do this though, you got to jet up the carburetor to allow more fuel. But here's your oil fill or oil plug for this. So that's gonna be super easy to get to right there. And we're gonna break this loose with a 10 mil, being sure not to drop it what you're draining the oil into. This shouldn't be very tight because this entire motor is aluminum, which means you'll strip it, you'll strip the threads pretty easily. That looks pretty flaky, but I've never changed the oil on this. This is from the break-in, so. While that's doing that, it is kind of important to do this more often rather than not, because these motors don't have a traditional oil filtration system. For instance, on that 73 Monte Carlo over there, that has a small block Chevy 350 in it, and those have a oil filter on it, which means that as it circulates, it goes through a filter and gets all the nasty stuff out of the oil and stuff. These motors right here don't have that. So if you get trash in your oil, it's gonna stay there till you change it. So you need to change it. Now your kart or mini bike may be a little bit different, but where I have a torque converter, I can't access the rear oil fill. So I'm gonna have to get it from the front, which is a little bit tight. What I'm going to be putting in this is one of the most high quality oils you can get. Not really, this is Walmart branded oil. You could go into the facts that there's only like 3 or 4 oil refineries in the world. So all these different companies, like this has got to come out of the same plant as like Castrol or Amsoil. And it may not, you know, I don't know. But in the colder weather, you want to run 5W30 because it is a lighter weight oil, and oil as it gets warmer gets thinner. So if you run too heavy of oil, it'll just oil starve the motor. You don't want to do that. I have some people argue in the summer when it gets hotter, you want to run 10W30 because it's a thicker weight. I don't. I usually just run 5W30 all the way around. I'm sure you could go about, measuring this and getting a accurate amount of what you want to put in here. I just fill it up until it's good. This is going to be a booger to do. Yep, I just spilt it everywhere. Here we go. The next biggest thing is actually not even a thing on this go-kart right here. This right here has a torque converter. If you're not familiar with what that is, there's a ton of videos on it. I'm not going to go into it. But this relies on a belt, while this right here has a clutch. This clutch right here, as it spins up, it shoots these little springy doodads out and grabs onto this outer edge right here. And these things get super hot, but they're consistent if you take care of them. And what I mean by that is I'm going to take this nut off, or bolt right here off, and I'm going to show you how to oil these. Now, you got to be super careful, because if you oil them in the wrong spot, or you get too much in there, it's going to get on this outer surface and it's not going to grip, and then you basically need a new clutch because you'll never get the oil off of there. Now, I'm actually have to take my clutch off because I usually put these on backwards on my bike because it moves the position of the chain to the right and allows me to center my motor. So it moves the chain that way and allows me to, in turn, put my motor this way, which centers it up more on the frame. I think it looks a little bit better. So it's absolutely not necessary, but I picked this cheap impact up at Walmart probably close to 5 years ago now for like 40 bucks. And it just makes working on these super easy. There's my washers. It is possible to get these off with that impact, but when you try to loosen this with a traditional like wrench, it's going to try to turn the crank, and you can just get a buddy to like try to hold it somehow. And it's actually got these right here for a spanner wrench too, but an impact just zips it right off. It just makes working on these super easy. Overhit my workbench. If you're wondering what these little marks are, I have no idea. They're just on there. But so what a lot of people do to oil these, see right here, this is moving separately from inside of this. And I don't think there's a bearing in here or anything. I think it's just friction. So you want to oil that. A lot of people say after every ride, but dang, taking your chain off after every ride, it just seems like it sucks. I do it once a month, once a week, I don't know. Depends how much you ride it. And a lot of people just drop some oil around here and it soaks in. I'm sure it does, but mine's actually got like a little shield right here, like this blue thing. So again, Harbor Freight. I'm going to take my snap ring pliers, ring off. And see, there you go. You can see down in there where these two pieces meet. Actually, I'll just take this off and show you. See, that's where it rides on. This is where it spins on. I can tell you, just by the way it looked, it needs some oil anyways. See, there it goes. Then there's your clutch oiled. Now the final piece of advice I'm going to give you guys, or girls, anybody can be into these things. It's super easy to do in the winter months or any time of the year. If you realize that your bike hasn't started in a while, or like you haven't rode it in a while, go out to the shed, carport, garage, driveway, wherever you keep this thing, bike lock, I don't know. Simply go out there and fire it up. And if you're not going to do that, turn your gas. Oop, I left the gas on this. That's not a good thing. Turn your gas off. Right here is a drain for your bowl. Drain that sucker. Because gas these days with this ethanol will ruin carburetors. And carburetors for these things are cheap, in my opinion. Well, number one, I haven't had good luck cleaning them. But for 10 bucks, I'll replace the carburetor before I clean it. but you'd rather just not clean it or replace it, either way. Now this thing hasn't fired up since, let's see, there's a swap, I built this thing to ride around swap meets and stuff. There was a swap meet in November and it took it to it. So it's been a month since it's fired up. First pull. I haven't fired this thing up in probably 2 or 3 months. So even now I'm going against my word. I really need to get new tires for this thing because my dad likes riding it. But right now the tires are so slick, also they don't hold air if you can't tell. It's kind of sketchy to ride. This may take a second. Let's fire it up. I've never seen this before. It's like the gas is completely evaporated out of the tank. I'm not gonna put very much in it. There he goes. Took the choke off too fast. This one's super cool because the headlight still works on it. It's got a charging system in the motor somehow. Anyways, yeah. I mean, that's pretty much all you need to do. Probably not all. To, like, you know, keep up your stuff. If you like any of these builds right here, 1, 2, 3, and then any of those down there, which I don't think I even showed, subscribe and or like this video and or subscribe and like this video, because this is a big part of what I do now. I really enjoy working on this stuff. Everything I just showed you here, there is a full series on this channel already. So if you want to go watch those, have at it, because I think they're actually pretty good videos. And I feel like they should get more views than what they do, but what do I know, you know? Thanks for watching.